Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just had some thoughts on my mind that I wanted to get off my chest, specifically about David Paulides and the missing 411 information that gets put out there. And I'm constantly making comments saying that you really need to look closely at David Paulides because to me, he's very suspect. He won't mention the word Bigfoot. He won't talk about what is potentially taking these creatures and these people, and it seems absurd because um at first when he came out, he really started like coming at this angle. Everybody thought it was Bigfoot. The first case that he was beating the drum about, if you can recall, if you have a memory of how this all unfolded and how he infiltrated the online Bigfoot community, it went something like this. He writes two books about Sasquatch. He gets accepted into the community. He befriends people like Ron Moorhead. And he, like I said, finds this acceptance. He wrote two books. He was up in the Hoopa in California spending time with the Native Americans, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Then he writes the Missing 411 series. Then, like I said, he starts beating the drum about Dennis Martin. And what happened with Dennis Martin? Well, child gets abducted, and the people in the park see this quote unquote bear carrying something over its shoulder, climbing up the steep cliffs in a place that would be just impossible and impossibly accessible for anybody else to climb up there. And so you're like, yeah, Bigfoot's taking these people. That's what this guy is all about. He wrote two books about Bigfoot, and now he's here talking about these disappearances. Okay, it's not that simple. Let me tell you, he comes on the scene and says, "Oh, I've got some anonymous donors." I don't believe for a damn minute he has some anonymous donors. I mean, I'm sure they're anonymous in the sense that, yeah, it's like the US government, the Department of the Interior, somebody paying you to put the flag out, put a warning out. Oops, people are going missing in parks. Be careful, take notice. You don't want to talk about what it is. You don't want to speculate on any of the evidence that might have been found that could support a missing person with a Bigfoot. Certainly, David never talks about any tracks. All he reiterates is that, oh, it wasn't possible to track, couldn't do it, dogs wouldn't track him. But imagine what he's leaving out. Imagine what these people leave out. Just like a prosecutor in a court case, the O.J. Simpson trial, for example, there was evidence that the prosecution left out of the evidence. Why? Because it wouldn't have supported their case. It would have gone against what they're trying to prove. So they can selectively choose the evidence that they bring to trial. It's not don't think that you're so privileged that you know everything in David's head and he's just giving it up. He's very selective on what information he puts out there. And this brings me to the interview that I listened to with David. Excuse me as I take a sip of my coffee. The interview that I listened to initially with David on Coast to Coast AM with the host George Knapp. And in the middle of the interview, George Knapp alludes to Sasquatch taking these people, and instantaneously, David says, "Hey, I never said Bigfoot are taking these people." And George Knapp was actually taken back by it, the fact that David interrupted him mid-sentence, and you could hear how flustered he was on the program and how shocked he was that David would say that because he didn't think that David was trying to say Bigfoot wasn't taking these people. And he's like, okay, okay. And then after that happens, I swear to God, I got to look up this interview and document this and make a video about it. There's so many David Paulides interviews. Good luck finding the specific date on the specific show with the specific host. YouTube has just become so discombobulated with David Paulides fucking videos. But I digress. Where am I going with this? So um, oh yeah, so David tells George Knapp that he also doesn't believe in the dogman phenomenon. And George Knapp's like, because we have witnesses reporting this stuff. We have people claiming to see these creatures, and there's consistency within the reports. And you're a supposed Bigfoot, unquote, quote, investigator because you're writing books about Sasquatch, doing investigations, at the Indian reservation, oops, I guess you're not who we thought you were. We thought you were a cryptid researcher. Apparently you're not. You're a cryptid denier. So right now, you don't believe in the dogman, so you are a witness denier on the dogman phenomenon, because you're telling people you don't believe in it, you don't believe what they say, you don't think they saw what they saw, indirectly, but that's what you're saying by saying that you don't believe in the dogman phenomenon. You give it no credence, because what you gave no credence to, that George Knapp also asked David about, was the smiley face killer phenomenon. Now, this was featured on Unsolved Mysteries back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was about these water deaths of athletic young men that seemingly drowned in a very suspicious manner because they shouldn't be dead. There's no sign of a struggle. They're just gone. These could be druggings with GHB at bars and establishments, and then people could be helping these bodies find their way to the water and drowning them. But like David says, there's instances where these people haven't been dead for a long time and then they're coming back. So what he potentially is mixing into the mix is either satanic cult ritual murder, which is a fact, which is something that the FBI investigates with people like the late Russ Dizdar, but satanic ritual crimes and satanic ritual abuse are very real and happen every day, and it's nobody's put an end to this. Still going on. You got generational families born into Satanism. It's bad. Let's put it that way. It's real bad. And there's plenty of money to hide it. But, so David's not believing in any of this stuff. David's like, I don't give any credence to this. Well, they're leaving smiley faces at the fucking kill scenes, but you don't want to talk about that. Now, you got the fucking exclusive rights on the water deaths, but it's got nothing to do with the smiley face killers. And you don't talk about it. You don't bring it up. You're not telling anybody that you're picking up a cold case, but you're over here acting like you are, and so it's kind of suspicious. So really the Dennis Martin case is like case in point about the Bigfoot issue. It's like, come on, David, speculate. We know that you're telling us about a Bigfoot abduction, even though you don't want to admit it, but you got to really question why he doesn't want to talk about it, why he's not doing it, and what is the agenda behind it. Because more than likely there is an agenda. David comes out in one of his videos, I think it was this past 2021, could have been late 2020, but he mentions in one of his videos, oh yes, I'm also a member of MUFON. Well, that's a group that investigates UFO abductions and phenomenon, and they are reported to have been infiltrated by the government and by government agents. And it's said that if you're working with MUFON, you're working with the enemy, with the government. Furthermore, William Cooper, while he was a high-ranking naval intelligence officer, not only saw the documents that stated that the CIA killed President Kennedy and how they did it with a pneumatic pistol that shot a slug that was laced with shellfish toxin into his brain by the driver of the limo, William Greer, but they also, in those documents, mentioned to Mr. Cooper that not only Linda Moulton Howe, but also Whitley Strieber are on the CIA payroll. So Whitley Strieber, who has his own talk shows, who is a voice in the UFO community, who wrote the book Communion based on supposedly other people's experiences that they got through CIA abduction reports and such, and then he plagiarizes his book as though it's his experiences. That guy's on the CIA payroll. Linda Moulton Howe, she's even worse. She is at all of these conferences at the forefront, just taking over the talking points and controlling the dialogue, just as David Paulides controls the talking points and the dialogue concerning missing 411. So if you don't know how to be a detective and follow the signs and read the signs, I really can't help you. Like, you're never going to figure it out. But it's so depressing when you try to bring this information to the general public and people come out and they're like, that's not what David thinks. David thinks this. David blah, blah, blah. David's this, blah, blah. And I'm like, you don't get it. I'm like, these are all the things that I'm telling you he's presenting to you and trying to be. It's his actor portrayal of David Paulides, but it's not the full description of the man. He's not showing you all of his cards. He's not showing you his full hand. He's selectively saying, here, I got an 8. Oh, I got a 7. Oh, I think there was a 2. He's confusing you. He's tricking you. He's not letting you see the whole picture. And he's not telling you everything that's going on as far as I'm concerned. So just be aware of it. You know what I mean? The fact that he won't even mention Bigfoot. He wouldn't even like, you can't even bring it up like, well, what do you think? It must be Sasquatch taking some of these people, right, Dave? He wouldn't, that would, you'd be shocked at the answer he gave you. He would stone cold lie to your face at that point, which he does. If you listen to his interviews, he gets asked these questions. He's a master at shutting them down. He's going to give the same answers. He's like, he's an information officer for the government as far as I'm concerned, because it's just like when you watch the guy at the White House leading the press conference, right? Yeah, you can ask him whatever you want. Are you going to get the answer out of him? Probably not. You can pester him and try to get it. He's not going to give it up. They're only going to tell you what they want to tell you. So that's what's going on with David Paulides. He's not going to talk about Bigfoot. He doesn't believe in Dogman. He gives no credence to the smiley face killer phenomenon. Okay. What about UFOs? He did hint that he's a member of MUFON. So is it UFOs taking some of these people? I speculate it probably is. William Cooper's even said that in the documents he saw in naval intelligence that there were treaties signed that said that these people could abduct us in exchange for technology, and that it started to go completely awry, and that bodies were being found returned to the planet that were obviously being abducted, and based on this agreement between the military and these off-planet intelligences. So yeah, Travis Walton. I mean, people get abducted, they get taken. How long are they gone for? And then they bring him back, right? How long was Travis Walton gone for before they brought him back, the fire in the sky guy? So same with the missing 411. Are they taking them and then bringing them back after they experiment on them? Are aliens, are off-world intelligences, whatever these non-human entities, are they using GHB? Maybe, possibly. The GHB lens tends to get me to think that probably it's more satanic ritual involved. It's probably a satanic cult murder. But why not even bring that to the public's attention? Why not make people aware that there is satanic ritual murder and that Satanists would be out looking for victims on certain dates, on the solstice? I mean, they sacrifice babies. You think they won't kill a stranger? I mean, if you study Satanism and satanic ritual murder, you'll quickly find out that they seek out victims and that they do murder strangers, and that these people are out there killing and getting away with it. And furthermore, they could even be members of the police, of the public at large that's supposedly in a trust position. You just never know, especially in a small community. And there are plenty of them all across the country. But even in the cities, you don't know what goes on behind the doors of the Scottish Rite Masonic Lodge. You don't know what really goes on all over this world. It's a beautiful place, but it's also a tragic place. Humanity is very disturbing, and they are not to be trusted. So David, he's all about money. He's on there complaining, oh, Mr. Ballin, I don't know how Mr. Ballin can upload a video about my topic that I'm bringing up, and he's getting more views and making more money than me. Shut up, David. Calm down. You're making plenty of money. They're pushing your book. You got the fucking mainstream propaganda machine pushing your information 24/7. You can't even look up something on YouTube without having Missing 411 come up. Type in Bigfoot or anything. It's just going to come up with a bunch of propaganda and crap to listen to. But yeah, the David Paulides information is being pushed so heavily out there with no explanation that if you're not skeptical and you're not thinking, what the hell is this guy's agenda, then you just don't get it. You just don't get it. He's all over the place. He's mixing everything together. He's not... See, because the anonymous donors supposedly had a Bigfoot experience. Remember the story? Remember David's supposed anonymous donors? Remember how he's psychologically manipulating you to touch your heart because you got a soft spot for Bigfoot? So remember, he had a Bigfoot experience, and so did these anonymous people. So he's giving David millions of dollars so he can anonymously write books and do these investigations and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, right. Yeah, fucking right. Yeah, fucking right. Somebody's just funding David Paulides for free, allowing him to rake in all of the profits from his speaking events and his book sales. Somebody just decided to make him a public figure. Somebody just, out of the goodness of their heart, just anonymously push this guy right to the forefront, Who has the ability to put somebody right to the forefront in mainstream media or alternative media? The government. The powers that be, the powers that control the system. Don't you get it? Everything is rigged. Even Google and YouTube is rigged if they're promoting it. Why? Because it's making them money or it's part of the agenda. Plain to see. If it's not part of the agenda, if it's 9/11 truth videos, doesn't get promoted. If it's non-monetized Bigfoot videos, it doesn't get promoted. They want promotional payoffs. They want the ad revenue, and they also want to control the narrative. So they just deleted